Hi, welcome to part 4 of Your Whole Self. This is my mini video series where we take the conversation about personality beyond extroversion and introversion. And in part 1, we talked about where you direct your attention and where you get your energy. In part 2, we looked at how you take in information. In part 3, we looked at how you make decisions. And now in part 4, we're going to look at how you orient yourself to the outer world. But first off, giving credit where credit is due, everything that we talk about today comes from this book, Introduction to Type by Myers-Briggs. Okay, so let's get started. In the language of the Myers-Briggs type indicator, how we orient ourselves is referred to as judging or perceiving. Everybody has a preference for one over the other. Again, we're capable of both, but there's one that comes most easily and naturally to us. So we'll explore each of these separately. And again, we'll explore these in more of a workplace setting. So it's important to note first off that having a preference for judging doesn't mean you're judging people. It's just the process that you use in the outer world, okay? So people with a preference for judging, they like schedules. They like plans. They like to live in this planned and orderly way. They like to make decisions, come to closure, and move on. For them, sticking to a plan is really important to them, and they really get energized by just getting things done, driving things to completion, wrapping things up. When someone with a preference for judging looks at the world, they usually see just a number of decisions that need to get made. People with a preference for perceiving, and that doesn't mean they're perceptive, it just means they use a perceiving process in the outer world. People who have a preference for perceiving like to live in a flexible and spontaneous way. They're seeking to experience life rather than control it. They like to keep things a little more loose because they want to stay open to new information and last-minute options. Their energy really comes from their ability to respond to the demands of the moment. And when they look at the world, they see a bunch of options that need to be explored. So what do you do with all this information? What you need to know about judging and perceiving is that when you have to flex into the opposite of your preference, you tend to get drained of your energy. So for example, somebody with a preference for judging who is supposed to be keeping things loose and open to change all the time, that's really draining for them. And it kind of decreases their flexibility fuel. And on the opposite side of things, somebody with a preference for perceiving, if they're forced to make decisions and come to closure and wrap things up all the time, and they never get to explore options, well, you're really draining their fuel for deciding. So it's really important that you put yourself in situations where most of the time you're supporting your style and your preference for judging or perceiving. So the other thing to consider is the whole idea of Goldilocks decisions. Goldilocks was a just right kind of scenario, right? And people with a preference for judging tend to decide too soon. So because they're pushing for decisions, because they're pushing for closure and to move on, they try to make a decision right away. The problem is they might not be considering all their options, and new information could come in that could change everything. Whereas somebody with a preference for perceiving, they can decide too late. They're wanting to keep things loose and open to change. They're wanting to stay open to those last minute options and information. But in doing so, it could actually eliminate other options, and that one of those other options could have been the best one. So you want to try to flex a little bit out of your area of preference to make sure that you're making really good decisions. And then finally, of course, there's supporting others, which is what I always want us to be doing for each other. So, if you're somebody who has a preference for judging, you don't have to push for decisions all the time. If it doesn't matter, don't push for the decision. Let it practice that muscle and flex that muscle of remaining open, and that's going to give a lot of relief to those around you who have a preference for perceiving. If you have a preference for perceiving, don't fight every decision out there. So don't push off something that really does need to get decided, especially when you're dealing with somebody who has a preference for judging. Give them that little gift of letting them decide or letting them push for a decision. So there we did it. We've crossed the finish line of exploring personality and extending the discussion, moving this discussion beyond extroversion and introversion. I hope this little mini series was helpful for you. I hope you found some great insights about yourself, and I hope you found information that you can use. There will be more videos to come, some of them kind of educational and informational like this. Others will just be sharing ideas, concepts, and thoughts, and some stories from the front lines of coaching. So until then, as always, please feel free to head on over to my website, elisetouche.com, where you can learn more about me, my coaching style approach, Myers-Briggs, whatever. You can also go look me up on Facebook and find out what I'm up to and see helpful hints, tools, articles, and just fun quotes that hopefully will inspire you through your day. My name is Elise Touche. I'm a purpose and leadership coach, and my purpose is to help you find profound and deep acceptance for who you are and for others, and so that you can join together to move each other and the rest of the world to a better place. Thanks again. Have a good day.